Yo, 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 what is going on, COD Familia? It is your boy BN, aka Mr. Kingdom Builder, trying to finally get better from this flu-like whatever it may be. And I wanted to touch on two things today. Number one, the fact that Nephisto has broken 1 billion power. We're going to show you that in a moment and talk a little bit about it. And then probably for the bigger portion of the second story today is going to be about an alliance, a top alliance at that, sending out a very interesting, funny, kind of shots fired alliance mail that I ended up coming across on the CoD Discord. So let's go ahead and start with number one, which is Nephisto hitting and breaking 1 billion power. Now you can see here on the historical, it's actually a little bit more than that. It's 1.012 billion power that he ended up breaking. I don't know if the Great Heights is still going. Okay, it looks like it is. Fantastic. So you can see here, right, if you recall, he was a little over 900. I think it was around like 905, 904, something like that. You can see he's boosted 100,000, 107,000 power so far. Again, probably no one is really going to catch him at that point. I mean, again, you can see some big gains here. Hoping to try and do some kind of Great Heights event. I just have to see which ones are still going on by the end of the day. And yeah, I mean, listen, man. All we can do is just shout out. I mean, again, there's been a number of people who have broken 1 billion power in, if you're just kind of looking at Rise of Kingdoms versus Call of Dragons, right? Neph is obviously the first person to do it here. I think the next closest person is somewhere around like 350 to 400,000, if it's one of the TFS members or someone else. And then you look at Rock, and obviously Rock has been out for a tad bit longer, but I think they have a handful of people, again, from what I had last heard, maybe it's more than that now, but around a handful of people that have broken 1 billion power. And it's interesting because for me, it's almost, man, I'd love to know like how many total troops Neph has at 1 billion power, and you know, almost kind of at different intervals, right? Like how many troops do you usually have trained at 100 billion power, at 200 billion power, right? And then kind of breaking that down and saying, okay, well, how long can you last out in the field before you need to start doing healing? You know, how long can fights potentially go on for? Like those types of stats to me are always very interesting because they typically lead to giving us more of a accurate sense of PvP sustainability in KVKs, which really at this point in time, especially when you get to the end game, is by far the most important, right? It's how long are you going to be able to last fighting out there in the field, whether it's in the field or, you know, through doing some rallies here and there as well. But that really is the enjoyment for many players. And that's something that I look forward to, right? When I can eventually hit end game and join in on the fighting. Because to me, and I've said this on multiple videos, is that me going out there in open field fighting just doesn't really seem worth it, right? Unless I'm kind of like max T4 or I've just hit T5. Like, it just doesn't appeal to me. Now, supporting and assisting with things like, you know, building structures, if it's keeps, if it's barricades, if it's turrets, if it's flags, if it's forts, etc. That's different, right? Because typically you could do those from somewhat more of a safe distance-ish, and you could also contribute as well because it allows for the fighters to not have to sit there and build, right? You can have those people that are just not really account ready, if you will, to go out there and fight. Now, again, some people will agree with that assessment. Some people will not. I think most people can understand where I'm coming from when I explain things like that. How for some people that is a very true feeling that, and the example I give is, and bear in mind, there's people that'll still go out there and fight at T3, T4, etc. But the example I typically give for something like this is World of Warcraft. When for any of my buddies that play World of Warcraft, the number one thing I always hear from everyone, this is so consistent, is you need to get your character to max level, whether that's 70 or whatever the level is now or was at one point. But you need to get your character to max level, and then you'll be able to start enjoying more of the game. I very much take that sentiment, and I look at kingdom builders, which are predominantly based on general level progression and unit tier progression, where you need to basically, right, try to get to an endgame status in order to just be able, for the most part, to kind of go toe-to-toe or toe-to-toe close-ish, right, with players that spend money, right? And we're talking more so like the free-to-play, pure free-to-play, and then, you know, some low spends. when you're talking about kind of keeping up and being able just to, kind of be on a level playing field or as close to one as you possibly can, at least stat-wise, not obviously the amount of troops-wise. But I very much believe in that, and it makes a lot of sense throughout. And what I have started to realize is more and more people over the time are starting to share that sentiment with just how long do these games take just to get to T5. I mean, you look at, the number one free-to-play player right now in the game, which is Captain Snowball, and he's got 579 consecutive logins. From when I last did my interview with him, I think a month and a half ago, he said he's still like 100 plus days away from being able to unlock his first T5. I mean, at that point, you're going on almost almost 2 years, right? And bear in mind, right, this is him in TA, right, one of the top alliances, one of the most spending alliances since beta. And early on in beta, right, because TA started in Kingdom 2, right, which is the second Kingdom to open. So it is, these types of things are fascinating to me. I love looking at the stats, the details of it. But again, shout out, right, to Neph for breaking a bill power, right? Again, man, first one to do it, and awesome. So yeah, maybe I'll try and get Neph back on for an interview on breaking a bill power, and because I mean that is a feat in and of itself. So. Okay, second story I want to talk about today is going to be this just absolute banger of what I think is just funny. So this starts on the Discord, and I always go through the memes channel because I love if you ever want to get a good laugh, regardless of how you feel about anyone that a meme is being posted about. Most of the time, I like to look at them because I think, hey, this is something that is funny, can lift your spirit, bring you up for the day, or just kind of start it off well. And I came across this alliance mail from Heavenly Luffy of BTR. Now, I'm not sure if Heavenly Luffy is the lead or an officer. I'd have to go and look at those specifics and the group that they're in, which I could. I just didn't end up doing that before this, which shouldn't take away from what we want to talk about, which is the mail itself. And so this was posted on the memes channel. A lot of reactions to this. And I have it open here in a little bit of a bigger view for us so we can read. So this is the mail, and you can't see, but basically at the very bottom it just says -BTR, right? So signed by. So let's go, because I mean I want to break this down a little bit. So it says, "Dear lazy members." So I don't know if anyone here remembers Billy Bob, the OG. He had that killer whale profile picture. He was from 1093 in Rise of Kingdoms, if I have that kingdom right, and he used to be the king there, and he was very much known for writing just very direct, in your face, calling it how he sees it, mails, and they were downright hilarious. I would almost wait until a new King's mail was sent out, and not to say that not that anyone didn't take him serious. He was very respected, from what I understand and from what I heard, for his time there. But the mails, if you read them, and you understood how serious he was being, to me at least, right, there was some comedy in that. And that's not to take away from the quality and or the seriousness of the mail / mails being sent. But I mean, at least for me, I read it in again a very non-ill-intended way, but it was just funny. And so, anyways, I just like how this starts off with "Dear lazy members," just the call out. It's funny. I mean, I think what they should have said is "Dear some lazy members," right? Not just lazy. It has come to our attention that our collective presence in the ongoing war efforts has been, this should be have, I think, but has been, actually I shouldn't grammar police anyone, right? Because I always try to do the best job I can as well. But has been a failure. And I like how they so I don't know, I'm assuming, let me start off by saying this most likely is probably photoshopped. Let's be upfront about that, right? Is that based on how this is, either they whited this out and photoshopped this, or they used some custom text to highlight these points home. Now, based on the positioning of the words, I would argue that someone took this mail and just photoshopped it. But again, because it is funny, I want to read it. So, has been a failure. Despite our alliance spending as one of the most powerful entities. Now, I wish I had the original mail, too. Powerful entities in the game, our activity levels do not reflect this distinction. We find ourselves matched evenly with dudes whose names we cannot read. That's funny. Yet, our participation does not mirror the strength we paid gems for. This could have said bundles as well. It is crucial to recognize that our alliance has transitioned beyond the realm of farmer gameplay. Now we stand blocked by IL and ED rock list. This probably should be in quotations, I think, or maybe another comma. Requiring a level of commitment and engagement to commensurate, which I think should have been engagement to commensurate, possibly with our status, while our esteemed Kraken Lords have demonstrated exceptional dedication. The burden cannot rest solely on their shoulders. Please ensure your global chat activity increases during scheduled times for battle. Let's be there for our teammates and for BTR. We must type together, synchronizing our efforts and to maximize our chances of victory. Strength and unity. Only towers and turrets can save us now, BTR. Now, I'm sure, I know, again, even if we looked at the original mail, I don't know how off this is or if it's pretty close, but they're just kind of using maybe synonyms here just to kind of explain or to write something different. But when I read this, I just thought, man, this was absolutely hilarious. Just the fact that someone did this, at least how it appears to be. Of course, I'll wait to hear from someone in the comments, if this ends up being something from the BTR team and they just used custom text, but I'm finding myself believing more of that someone grabbed the mail and photoshopped these in just because, again, you could see like the distance between some of the words just doesn't indicate as much, or at least, again, that's my hypothesis. So yeah, this is absolutely hilarious. And I'm so happy. I'm just happy that there's some creativity out there, right? Not necessarily that people are like taking mails and doing that kind of stuff with it, but it is funny. And so I just thought I'd share that. Would love to hear your thoughts on anything we talked about today, whether it's Nephisto, some of the feedback and points, positions that I mentioned afterwards, or the mail and your thoughts there. So yeah, that's going to do it for me. As always, until next time, I'll catch y'all later.